My name is Bruce Nunn. I'm the Director of Marketing of SoftTrack Systems. I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar this morning. Again, thank you for attending. Our webinar this morning is Transacting Business on the Web with North49 and Adagio. Joining me in the presentation is Etienne Grobler, President of North49, and Peter Graychuk, VP of Sales at North49. So at this point, I'm going to hand the mic over to Peter, and Peter will begin. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks very much, Bruce, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you taking the time. We're going to run you through just a few introductory slides to introduce some of the concepts, and then we'll turn it over to Etienne, and he'll actually guide us through a bit of a tour of the product so you can get a feel for what it's all about. And then I think we'll have time at the end for some questions and answers once we pass it back to Bruce. So there we are. If you pass us in the street, you'll know what we look like. Say hello. We look exactly like that. So some of you maybe saw us at the AOC this year. North49, just a little bit about us so you know where we come from. We all sort of grow up from the same roots, and that's way back in the old ACPAC Plus days. So we're all very familiar with what goes on inside of Adagio. I've been working with it for many, many years, and we have a very close relationship with SoftTrack. In fact, we're working on a project with them right now to provide some type of functionality as well. So that's an interesting project for us. A little bit about the market in general, just so you sort of understand what the opportunity is. And in this particular slide here, we're talking about the B2C or business to consumer market and how much it's grown over the past several years, and it continues to grow at a fairly rapid pace. And you can see just by 2011 to 2016, that's a 62% increase in online spending. People's buying habits are changing, and they're changing dramatically and quickly. If you look at the business-to-business market, now this is the wholesale distribution market that a lot of us are more familiar with, it's even bigger. So it's actually about 4 times the size of that business-to-consumer market. So there is a massive amount of business being done online right now, and you need to get yourself positioned to take advantage of that. People are demanding more online types of business so they can self-serve. And the whole evolution of this has come quite a long way. It used to be, and sometimes in some cases still is, a standalone kind of a shopping cart that's not connected in any way to your back office. So you're left with this bear of a job of getting all of your item information up onto the web, and then getting all the orders and whatnot back into your accounting system for processing and fulfillment. So if you do a lot of business on the web, and that can be the case, as you saw from the buying trends, that's a big job. And it means somebody is double entering information everywhere. And of course, all of the stuff that goes along with double entry, with all the human error and the possible problems that you might have with that, are all part of that process. So an integrated system is crucial in today's sort of environment of online shopping and being able to satisfy your customers' requirement to shop how they want, when they want. The full platform can involve all of these things. It can be a web store, it can be a self-serve customer portal, and it can be also a portal if you've got salespeople out in the field who want to transact business with customers while they're sitting in front of them, and all the time having live or direct access into your Adagio accounting in the back office. So this is all possible now. You don't have to be disconnected anymore. Everything is connected, and it makes it a lot easier for your customers and your staff to transact business on your behalf. So it's just a bit of a graphical illustration about how all of this works. There's a couple of primary means of communication that Webtelligence uses to communicate between the web and your ERP or your accounting system in the back office. And one means is Dataport. And Dataport deals with the mass movement of data between the two systems. So this would be things like moving all your item information and pricing and all that stuff up to the web from Adagio, so you never have to duplicate that effort. And it also serves to bring down orders and payments and those kind of things from the web to be automatically put into Adagio for fulfillment. So again, nobody has to manually type that information again. It's all just automatically brought there. So that's some of the primary function of the Dataport. It also deals with your content management, so you can actually manage the information that's on your web store directly from your desktop and not have to log into a web backend to do that. The other means we use to communicate is something we call Connect. And Connect is a real-time read of data from Adagio and served up onto a web form or to your web store or whatever the platform is that you've decided to implement. And it can take a number of different forms, of course. And so this is important because what it means is we never have to sync up sensitive information to a web server anywhere. It always stays safe in your accounting system and is only served up on demand with a very specific IP to IP communication that is encrypted. It's served up for the customer when they ask for it. When they're done with it, it's gone. It never lives on the web, so it can't be compromised. So that's very important. And the Dataport also has, and I think Connect even, has the ability to look at other data from other systems. So any SQL table, any ODBC compliant data source, we can serve up that information as well if it makes sense for the business and make it available to your customers, to your salespeople, on your web store or on your customer portal if that's what you're looking at. And we also are providing integrations directly to Amazon and to eBay. So again, now you have this one central point of administration for all of your item information, regardless if it's on Amazon or if it's on your own web store, and even in Adagio for that matter. So it's a central place to add, maintain all that information, no duplication of effort whatsoever. So it can really reduce the maintenance of keeping a web store and a customer portal up significantly. So you can increase your business dramatically without increasing your overhead to get that business, and that just translates into profit. Here's a small list, just a partial list of a bunch of our customers who we're doing work with and have done work with in the past. So maybe you recognize some of these names, and maybe you've met some of these folks at various conferences in the past. So that's what I wanted to talk about, as well as just getting things introduced about the concepts and whatnot. But now I want to turn it over to Etienne, who is going to actually guide us through the product and show us some of the cool functionality.
Thanks, Pete. Good morning, everyone. As Pete said, I would like to kind of take you for a tour through the system, and I will do that by calling up a few websites, and through that try and speak about technology and functionality as we go along. And so I'm going to start off with a few very wild statements, and say, firstly, we do not prescribe the look and feel of your web store. We believe your web store essentially should be an extension of the business you do locally. It should reflect the customers that you want. It should reflect the products that you're marketing. And a typical example we very often use is, when you walk into a 7-Eleven, they kind of all look the same. They're functional. They do what they do. They a little blah, and so we can do that. You can point us. If you go to something like GoDaddy, for $29.95, you can buy 150 different templates, and you come to us and say, "That's the one I want," and that's the one we design, and that's what it'll look like. And in essence, remember that any website design, at the end of the day, is creating style sheets on which these systems run. So it really doesn't matter whether we make it look like a template or whether we customize it. But there's a difference. And if you walk into a Bass Pro Shop down in the States, or a big outdoor store, you walk into the front door and there's a stuffed bear there, and a couple of deer and a bow and arrow, and right at the back there's a pool with live fish in the swimming department, and off to the left there's some ATVs cleverly camouflaged, and any male walks in there, he wants to grab a gun and shoot something, and they geared that store to sell their products to their customers, and that's the idea about a web store. And so first statement is, we make this look the way you want to look. Second statement is, if data exists anywhere in your system, we can render that data up in some smart and intelligent way to your customer to use. And so that technology which Pete spoke about, which allows us to either synchronize data or read data direct, means that we can put the data that you need up onto the web in a way which makes sense. We can render this data to your customer in a way which makes it profitable, if you will, in both experience and time and savings, to visit the web store and let them do the work on your web store rather than calling you up and doing it with one of your salespeople on the line. Having said that, there's a very definite trend now. Peter spoke about, the days gone by when a web store was this almost individual. It was like running a store all by itself, and it had to be stocked and had to be maintained, and you had to keep the prices going. And then when an order was placed there, that order had to be processed back into your Adagio system locally. And so, of course, those days are gone. These systems now coexist. Once the web store is up and running, its primary source of data comes from Adagio. There is secondary, of course. You don't have, sufficient. You don't have pictures. You don't have sufficient information, whatever it might be. And so that is kind of complemented before this item gets published up on the web store. But there's no longer this disconnect between what sits out for your clients to view and what sits internally. And because this is becoming more of a general shopping experience now, there's a very clear trend emerging which says that a brick-and-mortar store with a web presence does better than one without, but also likewise a web presence with a brick-and-mortar store backing it up does better than one without. We see some clear examples of that. For example, if you're aware of what the technology is doing now, Best Buy have created an Amazon-like environment where they will sell not only their Best Buy product, but they will sell product from external vendors on their web store. And they will then back that up by the Best Buy store in terms of returns or product pickup, etc. And through this, they are now positioning themselves ahead of Amazon, which Amazon, who knows where Amazon is? You go onto a web store, you click a button, and the product magically appears in your back door a few days later. Well, Best Buy thinks they're going to damage Amazon because they will be able to have a local representation. And that, of course, made Amazon decide because, hey, Best Buy is doing that. Amazon is now opening up warehouses all over. I know they're opening up one in Vancouver in the near future. And they will guarantee 30-minute delivery. In other words, you place a product on Amazon. If that product is stored in a warehouse in your city, they will have that product with you in 30 minutes. So this is getting fierce, and for the end user, it's getting awesome. And for us as merchants, it's getting a little frightening that we're not keeping up with what's happening in technology out there. And so what we find now is more and more of our customers with brick and mortar stores versus, the concept of, hey, you can sell to the whole world. Well, that's very cool. But, realistically, I cannot ship a fresh salmon all over the world. And so why do I need a web store? And that concept of, the fact that it opens up new markets, which certainly is true, provided your product allows you to do that, the concept is now more of I want the customers buying with me to be more satisfied, to be less likely to look around and shop elsewhere, and I want to give them a better service, and through that increase my sales and increase my profit. And so we're finding stores like Home Depot now says that approximately 65% of all the products they sell online is actually picked up in the store the next day. And so you have this concept of a construction guy out on the site, and tomorrow morning he's going to do the tiling in the kitchen, and before he goes home tonight he places an order for grout and glue and everything else he's going to need for the project. Tomorrow morning 7:30 he's standing in front of Home Depot. When Home Depot opens their stores, he walks and picks up his product and is out of there. And so that is becoming the push for local retailers in terms of e-commerce products. And so it is, sure, hey, let's sell to Japan if we can, reasonably do that at a profit, but that's not really the brick and mortar project or the brick and mortar model that we're seeing emerging in the market today. So with that having said, let me fly through here and just show you some of the look and feel aspects and some of the integration aspects and so on. As Peter said, there's primarily three areas which we deal with on the web. And let me say again, if data exists in your internal system, you want it rendered up into the cloud, we can do that, whatever that means, because our technology is not limited to picking specific data, we can get at anything. If it's stored anywhere, we can get at it. And so for a shopping experience, I will guide you through as we go through here and show you a few other ones. But in terms of shopping, just about anything you design is good. And so, we've got kind of just this, by the way, is our kind of sample website. We kick ideas around here and do things here. And so there's different layouts, a kind of a grid view, almost spreadsheet type of entry, or do we want this in kind of 3x3 side by side, and all of that functionality is available. The shopping cart has the typical shopping cart stuff available for us to deal with, and so on. And so really look and feel is almost immaterial. And I want to just pause here and move away and say that we do have a dedicated both iOS, so iPhone, iPad, and an Android mobile app, which you can present to your customers to use. But more and more, websites are becoming what we call responsive. In other words, the website will recognize the equipment that you're accessing it with, and it will adapt accordingly. And so here's a couple of examples. This is Micro Tools, so they sell electronic parts and little tools and things. And if you have a look at the website, got a bit of a menu across the top here. They've got a the shopping tool kind of running down the side as we add products. It'll give them kind of a running total here. They've got their manufacturers listed here. Well, kind of a typical look and feel here. But if we narrow this down, this is going to collapse more and more, and you can see it collapse as I narrow it down. And so this is probably where the site's going to look like when you look at it on an iPad. And if we take this down to kind of an iPhone size or a Android phone size, it's now adopted a mobile look and feel with the typical mobile kind of expected menu here that we're looking at. And the whole site has now rebranded itself, if you will, because it has been viewed on a device with a very small screen. We call this adaptive design. This is reasonably new technology, as in the past year or two. And so all the sites we now do have this adaptive design. Here's another one, a little bit more colorful, just to kind of cement the fact that we will make your site look the way you want it to look. And it has the same thing. So, the little menu across the top, this is a real desktop kind of a view. And if we narrow that down, at some point it collapses. And now I have a mobile sort of view with the menus kind of opening up like that, so I can press them with my, my big fat banana finger. So website design, anything from clinical to very colorful. Here is another one called Chauvet. They sell lighting equipment. And so, they design these sites so they look good on mobile devices. The buttons are nice and big, so I can press them with my finger on a phone. They stay away typically on the entry screens from too much color. It just, it doesn't work well on a phone in bright sunlight. But of course, because of what they sell, the deeper we drill into this, the more colorful it gets. Also interesting here is we have this concept where we can keep groups of clients apart if necessary, and we've done that here with Chauvet. And so looking at exactly the same database, this is not two different databases running, but exactly the same database. We have the B2C clients logging in under a URL called Chauvet Parts, but looking at exactly the same data, we have the dealers logging in to Chauvet dealers. So different URLs, same website. And as we log in here and go deeper into Chauvet, this is now logging me in as a dealer. So the first thing I see is not that kind of look of the this is my, just by the way, these are all sample clients that I'm logging in, and so this is also, I'm getting myself suspended here, but this is good. It means I can speak about this. But I'm getting a totally different kind of portal view of my account here. This is interactive, so this is reading the data directly out of the system. It is live, as in right now. And if we log into the ERP system and we take this account off, of course this is going to disappear immediately. As I now have this view here, I can place new orders, profiles. I can look at my old orders, filter through them. I can drill down into specific orders, and I can go ahead and then print this order out and get myself a printed copy. And I'll show you all of this. And we call this customer profiling. And a customer profile can be triggered by the customer group in Adagio. It can be triggered by the device that we're looking at. It can be triggered by the country we're logging in from, so we can sense, are you an international customer, US customer, Canadian, and so on. And so the technology allows us here to present different views to customers. And so even on one website, if we look at Sam Inc. here again, if I go ahead and log in here, and you'll see that kind of the prevailing color is this teal blue thing here, and we made two different skins on this, and I'll log in as one skin first and call Barmart. Barmart is still using the skin of this particular website way back. I think it's probably 5 years old. And you can see that the skin reskinned itself entirely. We're still looking at the same LTD online, except I'm now logged in as Barmart. When I log in as myself here, we apply a far more subtle change in that all these teal things are going to change to green. And so let me log in here as myself, and we will now get a slight change on that skin. Now that's possible to, for example, keep a different view or different areas of your business, one aimed at the B2C, other one aimed at B2B, but keep these guys apart. Let me go on to the next area, which very typically is required, which would be a customer portal. In a B2C environment, that's not really a thing. In a B2B environment, that becomes quite a big thing. And in fact, it is such big push at the moment that we are just about to release a product which does nothing but provide a customer portal. In other words, no shopping, no product, nothing else. If these guys have websites that they're running, they're not really interested in integrated shopping, but they do want to give their customer the ability to control their own account. Typically, that means something like this. So we've got kind of a 4-tab view here. We have the customer statistical data at the top. We've got our view account. He can kind of pick if he wants to view any invoices or credit notes or whatever he wants to look at. We allow him then to drill down into that particular document and retrieve that document. And this is that Connect technology Peter spoke about. This data is not synchronized up to the web ever. This data sits down in your Adagio. It is read real time and rendered up in this form. This data cannot be hacked because it does not exist on the web. And of course, since this is an HTML form, you can make this look whatever you want to make it look. You can put your graphics on there and whatever data you want to show them. The columns, etc. Whatever you want on here, you put on there. And of course, we now allow the client to print himself a copy of this. And again, this is just simply an HTML rendering of what that invoice should look like. And that guy can now go ahead and save it as a PDF if he wants to, or whatever he wants to do with this, he can go ahead and do. So we're putting the ability for your client to serve themselves on the account right up here. In this particular instance, we also allow him to pay his account online. Again, this is being read live out of the internal system. This does not exist on the web. It is completely PCI compliant. We will redirect the customer away to a compliant payment service. And in this particular instance, we even allow the customer to pick which lines he's going to pay on an invoice. Not typical. We're just kind of, bragging about what we can and cannot do here. And of course, if you want to do that, you can go ahead and allow him to override what he's going to pay us here, and then go ahead and make the payment online. Also allow him to look at his orders, so the customer can look at his orders. Again, this is live, so as we make the change, as you ship this in Adagio, as you make a change to the order in Adagio, that's going to be immediately what the customer sees here because it's being read live. And then likewise here, we provide the ability for the customer to say, hey, I ordered something last week. I want to order it again. You'll see my shopping cart here. has 2 items in it, a fluorescent desk lamp and a notebook. Let's go ahead and order a couple more things here, and let's just see what we want. Boy, we're sure by a lot of that one, don't we? I'll find something else. Okay, this guy. I want to reorder this guy from an old order that I have placed. I'll just say go ahead and add that to cart. So we allow the customer now to look back at his transactions with you and just simply reorder, making it easy for the customer to buy. In the same vein, we allow the customer to build their own wish list, if you will, or catalog. So let's assume you sell parts for machinery, and your client has a specific machine, and they want to build a catalog of the consumables. They go ahead and they do that. They build this catalog, and then they can simply order off the catalog. Like here we call this a wish list. We can call this whatever we want to, and so I want to add that guy from my catalog onto my order. I just go ahead and say, go ahead and add that guy. Now I've added him. Or I want to remove this from here and put it onto my wish list again. I can go ahead and do that. And the customer can build multiples of these catalogs, so they have multiple machines, they can do it. Or if they have a seasonal business, they can build, a Christmas catalog and a summer catalog and a winter catalog and whatever they want to do. And the idea here is that we're focusing the client on doing business himself and doing it efficiently. Likewise, under my account, we can do things like account stats here. We can allow the guy to just very quickly go back and look at his back order items. And again, literally this data is read live from Adagio. In other words, it is as up to date as when I click that button. And the speed with which it extracted that data is the speed in which you can expect it to extract the data out of your system and render it up. Third area that we commonly dealing with sales reps. And the sales rep just simply means I am a sales rep for this company, and I want to place an order remotely using my phone and iPad. I'm sitting in front of the customer. I'm at a trade show. Whatever the circumstances might be, I want to process using more of an order entry type form, and that is what sales rep does. I am busy processing an order for Barmart. That's another feature of the system that you can tell it how long to keep an unprocessed order. In other words, if I now shut down this website and I reopen it up and log back in again, my order is still going to stand. And if I'm a salesperson, I'm halfway through processing an order and I drop that order is going to be able to be retrieved. You may choose to discard it, but typically we'll keep it for 7 days or so and then chuck it. Very obviously, if I'm not going to be filling in a form, I don't have that typical web, search function which goes off and comes back with a list of products. So we have to do something else here. And so we designed or developed a finder which will monitor the field you're in. And when you type a certain number of characters and you stop typing for a certain period of time, the system will say, aha, I need to find a match. And we'll find that match in whatever fields you designate. So looking for a customer, we'll look at the customer name, typically account number, maybe a phone number, an email address, a contact person, whatever makes sense there. We'll be able to call up this order, and I know, as I said, I was busy with an order here, so Barmart already has 4 items in here. As a sales rep, I can now enter these fields. I can change pricing models on this guy. I can give him a new price list. We do honor all the price list details in your Adagio. We honor all the special pricing and contract pricing. We honor the customer types, the discount models, etc. If you place an order here, then this order is going to have exactly the same details as the order you place internally in Adagio. There's no difference. The pricing is synchronized. You make a change to a price list in Adagio, you run the sync, that price list is now effective on the web. There's no dual entry, and we honor exactly the same methodologies that you use internally. As a sales rep, I can now go ahead and change pricing here. Very commonly, guys expose this part of it to the customers, excluding the top part, so they don't allow the end user to do this, but they allow the end user to process down here. But of course, they won't allow them to override things like the price and so on. And so as a sales rep, I can now go ahead, place an order on behalf of somebody. I can create a new customer if I want to do that, etc., etc. So the ability of the web store to now deal as an extended arm of your sales force now becomes that much more usable. And I think with that, I am going to take a deep breath and ask for questions and something you want me to specifically drill down into and have a look at. And I'll gladly do that. Otherwise, I'll hand back to Pete. So I don't know, Bruce, can we open it up for questions, or how do we go about this?
Yeah, Chan, if you can just pop my slides up, I'll just cover quickly the APNIC integration. Sorry, the Adagio integration.
Okay, coming right up. I will do that here and take you full screen.
And they will process via credit card or PayPal. When we're talking about business to business, it's a lot more complex. And so what we're doing is we may have thousands, 10,000 clients, customers. We may have customers that are buying on account. They may have credit limits. They may have certain provisions. They may be entitled to discount levels, all of those different things. So it becomes important to be able to connect to that customer base within accounts receivable. Also, we're maintaining not just an online price catalog, but we're maintaining a dynamic inventory of goods that we are selling. And therefore, it's important for us to know the on-hand quantities, the quantities by location, where they would be shipping from, and really truly manage the costing of what we are selling. And so running a B2B web store has a lot more complexity, and that integration is not a simple task. And so as you heard at the beginning of the presentation, North49 not only has that full integration with Adagio Accounting, but it also has its data port and connect to make sure that those database queries happen very quickly and efficiently over the web with complete security and privacy of that information as well. So just to reiterate, when one of your clients could you put it back?
Oh, sorry.
Put the previous slide back. Sorry, I'm not quite finished there yet. When your client is purchasing on account, they can indicate whether they pay on account or they could pay via credit card or PayPal or whatever they want to do. They can really select how they want to complete that transaction. Adagio maintains different discount levels by customers. So your best customers might get a greater discount level. Some customers that do business with you very infrequently may get no discount. And so obviously all of this flows through Webtelligence. Credit limits are recognized, customers on hold are recognized, price lists by customers. Also, the important thing is they're shipped to addresses. So they're not, the customer who's transacting with Webtelligence doesn't need to enter a lot of information. All of that information is automatically populated through that integration with Adagio, which makes it much more convenient. On the inventory side, you've got markup or discount levels recognized by customer type or by quantity purchased. So again, that integration with the inventory is quite effective. There's date-sensitive special pricing. This product, all of our if we're auto parts, for instance, we're putting our tires on sale in the month of August, and obviously that all gets recognized when transacting in the web store. Alternate price lists, item lookup by name and number, all of that is identified. And the sales orders are completed and processed very efficiently and effectively, again, with complete security and privacy. Okay, the next screen, please, guys. Great. So when a transaction or an order is completed, the integration with Adagio obviously updates order entry and accounts receivable, and the actual accounting transactions flow through to receivables and then through to from the subledger to the general ledger. Same with inventory. When you sell your inventory items, all of the quantities are updated. Obviously, your costing is adjusted for selling those products. There's complete integration with inventory, and again, the GL is updated with those transactions as well. All of those distributions are just automatically taken care of. It also recognizes through AR. You may have set up your accounts receivable with multiple AR control accounts, and all the correct distributions are done. Within the general ledger as well, a lot of people, for reporting and P&L purposes, set up their web store as its own division or its own profit center. So typical in a wholesale or a retail environment, each of your store locations are treated like a profit center, while your web store would be treated as a profit center as well. So you can really see how your sales on the web compare to sales on other locations within your business. Now we talk about selling goods. So whether you're a retail business or whether you're a wholesale distributor, you can use Webtelligence. There's a lot more applications than just that. If you're a club or an association and you're selling memberships, you're selling products to your members that you think will be of value to them, or even merchandise. All of this can be integrated into the web store. I use the example of, a golf and country club. They've got their memberships, but there is the pro shops and all sorts of tie-ins that go with that. Also for services companies, sometimes they've got kind of packages of services, programs, prepaid accounts. All of that can be managed within Webtelligence as a web store. So there's a lot of different applications, different types of industries that can benefit from bringing e-commerce into their business. And obviously there is certain savings for that as well, in that you're not confined by business hours. You don't need a human to answer a phone or to open the front door of a brick and mortar location. All of these can happen whenever that customer decides that they want to complete a transaction, and all without human intervention. So there's a lot of benefits there. So anyway, I've covered the integration with Adagio. I think at this point we've got a few minutes left. We're going to open up the Q&A, and so if you want to ask us any questions via the little chat box with GoToWebinar, or if you want to put your hand up, I can open the microphone as well to ask you to answer any questions that you want to ask us. Does anyone have any questions? Susan, I'm going to open the microphone to you. Do you have a question for us?
Yes. My question is regarding shipping costs and how that's calculated.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for the question. Good one. In a number of ways, in its most simple form, you can set up your own tables based on weight or price. And so, anything under £5 will be $5 and so on. But also all the way through to very sophisticated. So the web store will electronically interact with the large shipping companies, FedEx, UPS, and USPS, and My Orange, and all those guys. And so what will happen is your web store will contain your merchant account with those companies. And so we will request, when the order is placed, the system will electronically contact, say, FedEx, and typically FedEx will give us two rates. They'll give us the retail rate for this package based on the shipping address of the client, as well as your wholesale or merchant rate based on your account with them. And you can then manipulate those rates and choose what you want to show the customer. So typically you do something like FedEx returns the retail rate for a package from Vancouver to LA, and that'll be $17.28. You may choose you get, say, 30 points discount from FedEx, so you reduce that by 10 points. So when the customer checks, your price is slightly cheaper than what they'll get on FedEx's rate, but you are still not losing money on the shipping. And so can be very complex, can be very comprehensive. You may choose to show the client, say, 4 rates. So give the client an option of overnight, 3 days express, 7-day ground, and the client picks one they want, and off you go. So very comprehensive shipping methodology.
So to get these estimates from the courier companies, do we have to populate the fields in Adagio for dimensions and weight?
The answer is yes, because we submit them the order, right? In order to get the shipping, we actually we submit the order to them. They then calculate and send it back to us. Very typically, because to be honest, nobody knows what that shipping is until their truck is standing and they actually load it, because they have all this cockamamie things about, virtual weights and dimensional weights. And, if you take this package and duct tape it to that one, then it counts as 1. But if you do it with that one, it counts as 3. And so there truthfully is no accurate way of doing it. And so the idea is that you will do it in a way in which, in the wash, over a period of 6 months, you achieve whatever target. Is this a cost center, or is this a profit center? Do you want to make money on it? And so typically we would submit them weighted. Typically on the wash that works out. And you'll monitor this, because the freight is posted as a miscellaneous charge through to your general ledger. So it's very possible for you to monitor this inside Adagio and look back over a period of, say, 6 months, know what you charged in freight, know what you were charged in freight, and make that adjustment on the web store, push it up a little bit, push it down a little bit, so that you get that balance where you're achieving your goal overall. But package by package cannot be accurate. Anybody that anywhere in the world tells you that they can predict this accurately is flat out lying to you. It cannot be done. That package is determined when they load it onto the truck based on how you package it, what it weighs, the dimension of the package, etc., etc.
Okay. And for payment options, can we limit their payment options? Like if they have a terms account with us and we don't want to offer them credit card, is that possible?
The payment options are determined by terms code, and it's really very simple. In essence, your payment options on the web can really only be one of 3. You can pay by credit card, you can pay by PayPal, or it can be on account. And so every terms code there's a maintenance function which tells you every terms code and what options are presented to the user if their AR account has that terms code. So likewise, if a guy does not have terms code, so the only terms code in Adagio is, you know, COD, then you'll designate he can pay by PayPal or credit card. He has no option to not pay before he goes in. So terms code and what gets presented to the user is determined by the terms code of that account in AR.
Okay.
Yep.
And one more question in regards to Adagio inventory control. There's not an added tab in Adagio for e-commerce to put those bullets and the descriptions for the products, or do we have to do all that on the website?
There's no an extra tab within Adagio, but you have a choice of where you want to maintain it. So traditionally, you would log into an administration portal on the website and you'll do that maintenance there. Certainly, you can still go ahead and do that. But the preferred way is we have taken all of the content management of the website and put it on your desktop in our product data port. So in Dataport, if you will, imagine that if you open an item in Dataport, so data is synchronized from Adagio into Dataport and from Dataport up to the web. And so there's an item content management tab in Dataport. You open that up and you open up an item, you are simultaneously looking at data from within Adagio and data on the web. And so you will see things like the 4 additional item information lines in Adagio will be on this form because you may use all optional fields in Adagio that you are using is shown here, but also all data for this item not in Adagio but on the web is here. And so bottom line is you can do all of your content management of items and customers and so on locally in Dataport without logging into the back end of the web. So we really want to bring it, and the look and feel here is more common. So, you know, a typical Adagio user will feel at home in this thing rather than a web deployed. On the other hand, if you have a more technical guy who prefers to log into the web, by all means go ahead and do that too.
Yeah, I mean, we would prefer to put it in Adagio, but there just isn't the fields available there to put it. We use all of the fields that are currently there under additional information, and there's just nowhere to put that, so we wouldn't really have a choice.
Well, no, remember you can do it in Dataport, right? So you don't have to log on to the web.
Oh, okay, Dataport.
Okay, Dataport is that synchronization software that's installed on your system. And so, no, it will be local. You don't have to log in. The reason it's not directly written into Adagio is because we want to avoid a scenario where a change in either one of this product is going to necessitate an update of your Adagio, so or vice versa. And so it sits, if you will, parallel to that, but it's on your desktop. You don't have to log into the web. And on your desktop then is this Dataport which allows you to add those bullet points and images and pictures and additional description and so on and so on. But you don't have to log on to the web. No, it's just not a tab on the item form, but it is sitting on your desktop.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We've got another question here just about merchant accounts. Do merchant accounts need to be set up by the user of Webtelligence, or can North49 facilitate the merchant accounts?
A merchant as in credit card processing?
Yeah.
North49 sets that up because it's a security issue. And so when a web store is being brought up or built, what typically happens, we create the sandbox up front, then we work on that, and the company can monitor and have a look at progress, and it's kind of popping into the building site, and you can see the building being erected and so on. And then we will request your merchant information, IDs and passwords and goods, and we will then implement and test that connection with the gateway or the processing company and bring it up. So it is a function which typically is performed by North49. Changing it is not it's not a huge big deal. Takes us an hour or two to test the connections and so on, make sure it's working.
Now, was the question around who actually applies for the merchant account or who implements it on the site? Because
good question.
The application of the merchant account has to be from the customer ultimately.
So yeah,
Right.
thank you, Peter. Yeah,
Because the money is going into their account,
It's
right?
their account and it's their relationship.
North49 has no relationship with merchant providers. We do have no benefit from that, and so we can help. We can recommend. We know these guys. We can say, look, we recommend you use these guys because they have a kick butt virtual terminal, which will really help you do your other processing and so on. But in the end, the best we can do is say, hey, speak to these guys, and then whatever the storefront owner decides, we implement that solution.
Okay. Okay, good. Do we have any other questions? No? Okay, well, in that case, I think we'll wrap things up. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the presentation today. Really appreciate that. And have a good day, everybody.
Thanks very much, everyone. And if everyone needs further information, feel free to reach out. My contact details are here. North49.com is our website. Feel free to visit.